What's good, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I think it was like a week away from actual F1 race week, which is actually in the States. I'm actually looking very, very forward to that. Now, before I even start the video, you guys are probably asking Chaz, you sound pretty bad. Yeah, I think I'm starting to get sick. I mentioned that in the post yesterday. It's been a very, very busy past few days. Some personal stuff going on I've been doing. And then I'm getting sick. I'm getting sick, and guys can probably tell that I'm starting to get sick. So if I start coughing, or if my eyes get watery, or like whatever, you guys know. You guys know. But today we are going to check out why these bad F1 drivers just don't get fired in F1. Shout out to Dion Lacho. All credit goes to him, big time. And you look at the Danny Ricks, the Logan Sargents, two drivers who have been gone this season. They were bad. They were bad. We just got to call it a bug. But I'm looking at Kick, the Valtteri Bottas, the Guan Yu Zhao. Both have 0 points, but they're still with the team. That's interesting. But you guys can let me know about that in comments down below. But we are going to check it out. We are going to see what's on. Always boys and girls. Hope you guys are doing good and amazing. Don't forget to like the video and sub as well. As always, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. And I'm not going to cap. I thought that said the B word on Buddy's helmet. I thought that said the B word on Buddy's helmet. But let's just get started.
If there's one thing that I would have to label as the worst thing in the sport, something so horrible has almost pushed me away from watching Formula One several times. I don't even understand how this is still ongoing. The one thing I hate the most in F1.
So even though I'm sick, I decided to put my hand over my mouth.
Is Perez. But today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, and that is the so-called driver market, or as we all know it, as the silliest fucking season of the year. When people say the stock market is unpredictable, buddy, you don't know the worst of it. I think that most team principals don't even really know what the fuck is going on, and most of the decisions are made by them.
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay, but I'm not in the police station.
Christian is a little bit like a Jack Russell Terrier who likes to snap at your heels.
Have you done any reading, anything?
Yeah,
like
I
this?
can read, yeah. This should be relaxing. It's fucking boring here, you know.
Just trying to buy a horse.
Truth be told, I hadn't really paid that much attention to it until recently. Before, I just thought of it as a given for any sport. Oh, Jesus. Players usually do shuffle around team rosters every now and again, and sometimes some of the moves are a bit more surprising than others. Like, for example, a mid-tier football player being bought out for only $1 billion instead of the estimated $2 billion. Bad economy, I guess. But in the past few years, I've taken a closer look at the driver market and tried to understand it all a little bit more. God, what is wrong with me? So investigating things like, when do drivers usually switch? Why do they switch? Which teams are more likely to make a move on a free agent? Which team is...
I do have one question. So I've noticed after races, drivers still have to drink through a straw. Is that, I guess, why can't they just put it towards their lips? I may get clown for this question, but I've always just thought that. But I may get clown, so you guys can let me know in the comments down below.
Is willing to switch out their most consistent driver for a demoralizing and degrading prima donna about to receive his first pension next month. That sort of thing. And I've got to say, after really paying attention to this stuff and really monitoring the current and previous changes in the market, I've come to the clear conclusion that I have no idea what the fuck's going on. It's one of those things, the more I pay attention to it, the less anything makes sense anymore. I got so sucked into that world and adapted their line of thinking that I started being completely delusional. I almost convinced myself that Sargent was a good pick for Williams.
Are we good? Come on, please tell me we're ready.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, in any case, what I've decided is that I'll present my findings to you lot, and you can do with it as you may. You'll probably only get more confused about the sport just as I have, but it is what it is. Let's just start with the obvious issue that has persistently puzzled me in the sport. And no, it's not why Ocon is still on the grid, although that is a very good f***ing question. But I'll get to that a bit later. Let's start with the actual forming of the driver lineups. So, imagine, you're a team principal. You already have a very successful career, you either own an actual part of the team, or you have some lingering interest in the success, or at least the survival of the team. Now, why would you, setting aside any potential conspiracy theories or ideas of potential self-destructive tendencies, why would you fire a perfectly performing driver from your team, one that is clearly one of the most consistent performers on the grid, often outcompeting the clear number one driver you've selected, the talent that you are seriously overpaying for, by the way, especially because half of the pay is going straight to the psychiatrist you've hired to deal with the guy's self-esteem, and replaced him with an old man who's definitely past his prime, largely hated on the grid for having the most fucking obnoxious personality.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, maybe that's just me. But most people
Alright.
do fucking despise him because of the 6 years of torture
That's
the man
crazy.
put us through. How is that, in any way, shape or form, a rational move and a wise decision as a team principal, who would like to at least remain as the team principal for another year or two? How? It doesn't make any sense to me. My cousin makes more rational decisions than that. And the man consciously bought a Nissan Juke because he
Do
thought
we
it looked good.
overrate Charles Leclerc? I mean, do we overrate Leclerc?
And the whole driver lineup approach never
Sainz
really
has been
settled
good
in my
this
head.
year, though.
What I thought was there would be a gold standard that the teams followed for that sort of thing. You know, you look back and check what tends to work and not work as a driver lineup, and that you use as your gold standard. For example, Lewis and Bottas were
Every time I see Rich Energy, ugh. Every time I see him.
functioning really well as a team, securing like 5 or 6 of Lewis's championships and constructors for the team. Of course, it was an abysmal time to be an F1 fan. Trust me, I hate the pair of them more than Americans hate functioning public transport. But the structure of a leading driver and a consistent supporting driver seems to work for a team. Extremely well, if I might add. And here was again repeated by Horner for a year or two. Although the supporting driver was kind of missing most of the time. Luckily, the car had like a 50-mile-per-hour advantage on the straight compared to the rest of the grid, so Perez managed to somehow scrape by and get P2 every third race or so. Not so much anymore, huh? But what about other teams? What the fuck are they thinking? What is the fucking point of getting 2 very skilled, very expensive drivers to compete against, first and foremost, each other, every race, instead of progressively getting to the front as a well-thought-out unit? I mean, look at Ocon and Gasly, and previously Max and Ricciardo, and then Grosjean and Magnussen. Those 2 hated each other's guts by the end of it.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the life-threatening experience of walking through a fireball, Grosjean probably would have come back instead of Hulkenberg, and those 2 would have actually killed each other on the grid.
Yeah.
That would make a pretty fucking banger Drive to Survive episode, huh? As a team principal, you should well understand that these are spoiled, egotistical children that you're putting behind the wheel of these things. If they smell a slither of a potential fight with their teammate on the grid, they will fucking go for it, mate. Because
Yeah.
they're already paid millions to just drive in circles every week. Might as well go balls out and try to outdo your teammate by risking putting both your cars in the
it's
wall,
competitive
losing
sport.
the team
I'm
millions of
trying to
dollars,
win.
essentially wasting
I'm trying
thousands
to
of
win.
hours of labor, and looking like fucking tools in front of all your sponsors. All because some teenager thought his teammate was being a big meanie for passing on pure pace. That's just not right.
That's not right.
Idiot. And of course, it also works well for our entertainment. It's fucking great. I'm not complaining about the drivers. They're doing their job. The team principal's the moron in this case. To me, there's nothing better than seeing the 2 Alpines qualify next to each other. That just never ceases to amaze me. You know, there's something about seeing 2 French people collide and engage in a verbal exchange that makes me feel joy. It's just so theatrical.
Like, oui, oui.
You almost forget you're watching a race in Saudi Arabia and are not on the M1 watching the 2 French lorry drivers going at it in the middle of the motorway. There's just nothing better on a Monday morning than that.
And the thing is, I agree with his point. Like, if I'm in F1 and my teammate is just as good as me, or like that's what the media whatever says, I'm trying to bust his ass every race. No Diddy, no Diddy. I'm trying to win every race. I'm trying to like one up him every time. So yeah, if I get a chance to pass him, I'm passing him. If I get a chance to overtake him, I'm taking it. If I win and he don't win, yeah, I'm happy. Cause at the end of the day, I'm trying to keep my spot on the team. And like whatever what everybody else says, like about like being like the main driver or the secondary driver, obviously Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton has probably been like one of the best like duos we've had like recently, like the last 10 years or whatever. And Valtteri was very, very fine being a second driver. But I've said this times before, it's only like how long do you want to be just a secondary driver? And that's what Valtteri Bottas going to kick or Alfa Romeo at the time, was supposed to be, but Guan Yu being his understudy. It ain't always on the bright side, bro. And I would say that's a big drop from Mercedes during that time to Alfa Romeo. I was still done.
Another aspect of the whole firing thing in F1. Sometimes the teams just randomly fire a really good team player for no fucking apparent reason, other than, you know, it would be cool to have an almost retired Sir racing for our team. Just imagine how much complaining there will be on the team radio between the crime pensioner and the flamboyant Italian race engineers. Those guys don't give a fuck. They'll tell you straight to your face that you're being an absolute moron. But most of the time, the biggest issue that teams have is not firing guys that are actually good. It's the opposite. Keeping around absolute muppets who would probably have issues driving a UPS van around for a living, let alone a car with wings. Like, let's take a Red Bull, for example. Totally random and neutral example, you know. How can they still be paying that tool a salary? The amount of mistakes he makes per race is only limited by the number of laps he manages to do before he destroys the car. I think he's cost them millions and millions in just car repairs and responding to angry fan mail asking him to be sacked. I might be a bit of a contributor to that one. And even if we skip over this obvious example, everyone knows he's a waste of space already. Ocon. How has it taken this long to get rid of him? I swear, the guy barely knows which planet he's on, and he's been around for almost 10 years in the sport. Ugh. I wrote him off the race he clashed with.
10 years. But now that I am thinking about it, he has been F1
Verstappen when he was trying to unlap himself. Not because of the crash, but because he was too big of a fucking pussy to slap young Maxi across the face after being shoved 3 times and being called a fucking inbred retard.
Like, bro, stand your ground. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't
Sorry,
soft.
forgot we didn't condone that language here. And some of you will say they keep him because there's no other alternative. All the drivers already have seats. Well, first of all, that's a lie. Those top teams are sitting on so much fucking money, they can buy out the President of the United States and pump him full of so much juice, he'd be putting purple sectors going in reverse. But even if that were true, you can always get yourself a rookie, you know? And for some reason, teams have been really fucking scared of getting anyone who's currently on the bench. Oh, right. That's probably wise. I would be fucking scared too.
Massive spin.
Never mind. Alright, well, as promised, fucking confusing, innit? Still endless questions as to why teams don't just replicate the most advantageous driver pairing. You don't have to pick the best, just make sure you have one of the best, and then someone who has at least 3 functioning limbs and half a brain. Somehow Williams hasn't been able to nail that one for some reason. And the feat of firing absolute shit drivers is also a fucking mystery to me. Especially from Red Bull. Those guys used to fire drivers for blinking the wrong way. And that was just dead silence. Almost as if Horner had a big red button in his office that he used to press, and that would get Max Verstappen's teammate immediately fired from the team. And then I guess someone caught on that he was just spamming the button whenever he got bored.
Look at that. Croissants.
Took it away. But come on. I mean, the guy is literally a net negative for society. I think if you let that seat empty, it would do better for your team. At least I figure out why rookies are not welcome to the sport anymore. That makes sense now. For once, it seems we have an actual conclusion here after a fruitful discussion. For once, I understand. What the fuck?
Bro, I saw that. I'm like, Mazepin was rumored to be coming back. Hell of a video. very funny video. The Lewis Hamilton stuff was funny because you guys know me. I like Lewis Hamilton. Big fan of Lewis Hamilton. And you know, he can be a bit of, you know, like a little, you know, drama king, whatever you could say, but at the end he's still one of the greatest F1 drivers we've ever seen. So hey. Hey, as always, hope you guys stay enjoy the video. Don't forget to like the video, sub as well as always. Take care, stay safe, and as always, peace.